This is a genuine ticket, best seats in the house, pal. But for you, special price. Cash only, quick deal. The man, who called himself Slick, flashed a winning smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. If you believe people who serve their country deserve honesty, not trickery, type respect vets below. John clutched the crisp $100 bills in his hand. It was a lot of money, more than he'd planned to spend. He was a man who lived simply. His small apartment was neat, his habits were quiet. He wasn't one for big crowds or loud noises usually, a leftover habit from his years of service. But this concert, this was different. This was for a band he'd loved since he was young, a band whose music had been a comfort during long nights far from home. He tried to buy a ticket online the moment they went on sale, but they had vanished in seconds, snapped up by quick computers or people with more luck than him. For weeks, he'd felt a quiet disappointment. Then his friend Mark had mentioned that sometimes, if you were really determined, you could find someone selling tickets outside the venue. Mark had even offered to come with him, but John had said no. This was something he wanted to do for himself, a little adventure. So here he was, standing near the entrance of the massive concert hall, the buzz of excited fans all around him. He wore a simple jacket over a plain shirt, his graying hair neatly combed. He looked like any other middle-aged man, perhaps a bit more tired around the eyes. There was nothing about him that screamed hero or veteran. He preferred it that way. He carried his memories inside, like the worn photograph of his old unit tucked deep in his wallet, a silent reminder of a different life. Slick, the scalper, had approached him with an easy confidence. "Looking for a ticket, my friend? Today's your lucky day." John hesitated. "Are you sure it's real? I've heard stories." Slick chuckled, a greasy sound. "Stories are for campfires, old-timer. This is business. Top-quality ticket, see? Feel the paper. Look at the hologram." He held it out. It looked real enough to John, who rarely bought concert tickets. The noise of the crowd, the flashing lights from the venue entrance, it was all a bit overwhelming. "How much?" John finally asked, his voice low. Slick named a price that made John wince internally. It was almost all the cash he had on him, but the thought of finally seeing his favorite band, of feeling that music live, it was a powerful pull. He'd saved for a little treat, and this felt like it. Maybe it was worth it. "All right," John said, handing over the money. Slick counted it fast, then slapped the ticket into John's palm. "Enjoy the show, champ. You won't regret it." And just like that, Slick melted back into the throng of people, disappearing as quickly as he'd appeared. John held the ticket, a flutter of excitement mixed with a small knot of worry. He walked towards the entrance, joining the line of people shuffling forward. He could hear the faint thump of the opening act from inside. His heart beat a little faster. When he finally reached the front, a young woman with a scanner smiled at him. "Ticket, please." John handed it over. She scanned it. The machine beeped, a short, negative sound. She scanned it again. Same beep. Her smile faded. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her voice polite but firm. "This ticket isn't valid. It's showing up as already scanned or counterfeit." John's stomach dropped. "What? But I just bought it. From a man outside." The ticket taker looked sympathetic but shook her head. "We have a lot of trouble with scalpers selling fake tickets, sir. I can't let you in with this. I'm really sorry." John looked at the ticket in his hand. It suddenly felt like a worthless piece of paper. The excitement drained out of him, replaced by a cold wave of disappointment and anger. He'd been cheated. Swindled. That man, Slick, had taken his hard-earned money and sold him a lie. He didn't yell. He didn't make a scene. Years of discipline kept his voice even. "Is there anything that can be done?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Not with this ticket, sir," the young woman said, her eyes full of pity. "You could try talking to guest services, but they can't honor a fake ticket." John stepped out of the line, his shoulders slumped. The happy sounds of the crowd around him now felt like a mockery. He felt foolish and old, and mostly, just incredibly sad. It wasn't just the money, it was the hope, the anticipation, all of it snatched away by a common thief. He had served his country, fought for fairness and honesty, only to be treated like this. Has anyone ever tried to cheat you like this? Type scammed if you know how John feels. He could just go home. That was the easiest thing. Just walk away. Try to forget about it. But then he thought about Slick, out there right now, probably cheating someone else. The thought made a different kind of anger rise in him, a slow burn. He couldn't let that happen if he could stop it. He looked around and saw a sign for Venue Management Office with an arrow. He straightened his shoulders. He wasn't going to ask for a free ticket or cause trouble. He just wanted to report the scalper, to give a description, to hopefully prevent this from happening to another unsuspecting fan. It was the right thing to do. He walked towards the office, his steps heavy but determined. Inside, a busy-looking person sat behind a desk. John waited patiently until they looked up. "Can I help you?" the staffer asked, a little distracted. "Yes," John said calmly. "I believe I was just sold a counterfeit ticket by a scalper outside your venue. I wanted to report it, so maybe you can warn others or catch him." He explained what Slick looked like, what he'd said. He wasn't asking for anything, just providing information. The staffer listened, and something in John's quiet, dignified manner made them pause. This wasn't the usual angry complaint. This man seemed genuinely concerned about others. "Just a moment, sir," the staffer said. "Let me get my manager." John nodded and waited. He didn't hold out much hope for himself, but maybe his warning would help. He stood there for a few minutes, the sounds of the concert a distant tease. It felt like a long time, but it was probably only 5 or 6 minutes. Then, a woman with a kind face and a professional air walked briskly into the office. "Hello, sir. I'm Maria Evans, the venue manager. My colleague tells me you had an issue with a scalper." John nodded. "Yes, ma'am. He sold me this." John held out the fake ticket. "It's no good, apparently. I just wanted you to be aware. He's out there now." He described Slick again. Ms. Evans took the ticket and examined it. Her expression grew serious. "I am so sorry this happened to you, Mr. John," he supplied quietly. "John Miller." "Mr. Miller," she continued, her voice warm but firm. "We try very hard to stop these people. They prey on fans, and it's disgusting." She looked at John, at his tired eyes and the disappointment etched on his face. There was a quiet strength about him that she respected. "It was for my favorite band," John said, a hint of his earlier excitement briefly returning, only to be clouded by sadness. "I've waited a long time to see them. Served a few tours, you know, and their music, well, it helped." He hadn't meant to say that last part, it just slipped out. Ms. Evans' eyes softened. "You served?" John just nodded, a little embarrassed. A new light came into Ms. Evans' eyes. "Mr. Miller, what that man did was a disgrace. And the fact that he did it to a veteran, someone who has given so much for this country, makes it even worse." She stood up straighter. "We are not going to let that thief ruin your night. Not tonight." Her voice became crisp and authoritative. "Sarah," she said to the staffer, "radio security, give them the description of that scalper. I want extra patrols at all entrances immediately. We need to shut these operations down." Then she turned back to John, her expression kind again. "Mr. Miller, I can't undo the fact that you were cheated out of your money, but I can make sure you see your band." John blinked. "Ma'am?" "Please, be my guest tonight," Ms. Evans said with a warm smile. "I have a couple of excellent house seats I keep for emergencies like this. And believe me, this qualifies." She picked up her phone. "Mike, it's Maria. I need 2 of our best seats for tonight's show right away, for a special guest of the venue." "Yes, a VIP." John was speechless. He hadn't expected this. Not at all. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "That's too kind." "It's the least we can do, Mr. Miller," Ms. Evans said. "It's our way of saying thank you, not just for bringing this to our attention, but for your service." She made it sound so simple, so right. "The way that Scalper treated you, it's not what we stand for." Within moments, just about 7 minutes after John had first decided to speak to someone, another staff member appeared with 2 tickets. These were clearly real, on official venue stock. "Front section, Mr. Miller," Ms. Evans said, handing them to him, "and a voucher for some refreshments on us. If you think one kind act can change everything, type kindness wins in the comments." John felt a wave of gratitude wash over him, so strong it almost brought tears to his eyes. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you so much." "Enjoy the concert, John," Ms. Evans said, using his first name now. "And if you see that scalper again, you point him out to our security. We will deal with him." She was angry about the unfairness, but her focus was on making things right for John. John walked into the concert hall, the real ticket clutched in his hand. The music was louder now, the energy of the crowd infectious. He found his seat, and it was incredible, close to the stage, a perfect view. As the band played his favorite songs, songs that had been with him through good times and bad, John felt a profound sense of joy. The ugliness of the earlier encounter began to fade, replaced by the warmth of Miss Quashen's. Evan's kindness. He wasn't just enjoying a concert, he was experiencing a moment of true human connection, where someone had seen an injustice and chosen to make it right. The venue did increase their security patrols. While Slick the Scalper might have gotten away that night, the venue was now more alert, more determined to protect its patrons. Miss Evans even implemented a new system for quickly reporting scalpers and offering assistance to those who had been tricked, inspired by John's quiet dignity. John never forgot that night. He remained a humble man, never one to boast, but he often thought about Miss Evans and her team. He was glad that justice, in its own way, had happened. He was happy that he got to see his band, but he was even happier that someone had cared enough to help. The real lesson here is about respect. It's about how we treat each other. John, a quiet hero, was treated unfairly, but his calm courage in reporting the issue led to a powerful act of kindness. It shows that you should never judge someone by how they look, and that standing up for what's right, even in a small way, can make a big difference. What did you think of John's story? Subscribe if you believe good people deserve good things, and that kindness can always win against unfairness. And always remember, the character of a person is shown not in how they act when things are easy, but how they respond when things are tough.